Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. We had a little bit of a roughy and rocky start there. We upgraded the Jitsi server a couple days ago, and I tested it on Arch, and it works perfectly fine. And for some reason, it will not allow me to use my Jitsi application. So, to hunt around for an application that worked for me. But anyway, let's go ahead and pull everybody in. How's it going there?
Hey.
Ivan, we're on you. How's it going?
Doing pretty good. I've got a couple of hardware updates. Got new headphones, and I've got a new camera because it's got a ring light on it.
Very good.
And trying it out, and it's working out great.
Yeah, and it was working out great. Actually, I cut the quality down because it was like super high quality. I'll jump it up, back up, show you guys what this can do. If you run it all the way up and give it some time, it'll get back and go up to like full HD. And it was like running perfectly fine for everybody. But then it was just like, okay, I'm not going to be able to run a stream with all of that and my bandwidth. So there we go. Salbu, how's it going your way?
I'm doing fine.
All right, very good. You can see we got the custom backgrounds going on. So if you want to talk about your custom backgrounds, anybody, go for it.
Yeah, I am at the. I just changed mine. I am at the bridge of the Battlestar Galactica.
There you go. So
awesome.
So broadcasting from space. We got. Of course, everybody else is just doing the nature scenes, and I'm literally in nature. So you know, how's it going, Dan?
It's going okay. It's doing pretty good.
All right, and my apologies for the the Chrome toolbar at the top of the page, the top of the video chat. Like I said, we just got this on at the last minute, and I'm not going to bother trying to adjust it. We're just going to try and make sure that our Jitsi application can work for next week. So that'll be what we do. But anyway, we'll go ahead and dive on into there, and then let's check in on comments. Then we'll get into our topic. The end of the world is near when, that's right, IPv6 activity have now been shut down on our end, and only your ISPS content will be in and on. Ooh. Hard to tell what's wrong with your equipment. Yeah, there you go. Woke, what's that? It's not hard to grasp and silly if you don't understand this mentality. Yeah, I don't know. Our America's so screwed up right now, it's not even funny. English writing POV, fourth person, yep. What grade were you in when anyone heard of POV, third and fourth person references? I've never heard of fourth person references.
Yeah, me neither.
Anyone else watching the Starliner go up? I think Ivan was. You were watching the Starliner go up?
Yeah, I've got it up right now. I'm just kind of watching it. It's up there. It's far enough where they have to use the computer graphics to show its orientation and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll hit the it'll dock with the station tomorrow.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah, right around this time.
All right. Moonbase Alpha Grays, how's it going there? Moonbase, are you up there with Salbu up in Star Trek land? Mr. Anderson, how's it going there? Silver Adventures, hello there. Telegram talking with and sharing automated circuit flows with 8-Bit Guy and Chris from Sling Computers. Cool. Very nice. I've not seen the 8-Bit Guy for a while. I should go watch some 8-Bit Guy. That's a good channel. The kitty is scary. A cat with a big gun. Yeah, you got to watch out for that cat. He's like, I'm done with the space aliens. They have given me the mission to go and stomp Putin. So there you go. If you want to know where that $40 billion America's just signed over to Ukraine, it paid the kitty off. Let's see. Nothing worse than a pissed off cat with a gun. I know, right? Like, excuse me, sir. Open the door. I'm opening it for you. Need to get some new headphones. We're seeing the weekly news roundup. Apple's being sued because apparently their AirPods made somebody go deaf.
Oh boy.
And now it had more to do with the emergency services, which I always shut off. Does anybody else let me know in the comments? Do you shut off the emergency alerts on your phones? I do, because I keep on getting 3 in the morning. Louder than you can possibly imagine for some Amber Alert for some city 500 miles away from where I'm at. Yeah, I shut them all off. Every one of them. Yeah. Because y'all abuse the system.
Here in Europe, you don't have this system.
Oh, how fortunate. It's like, it makes no sense.
What we do have is in case the government or the local authorities need to send an alert to everyone in a certain area. They will send SMS messages to all phones in a certain area.
And that's cool because like an SMS goes out. If you're sleeping, it's like whatever. If you're not, it's just a normal text, whatever. This is like so unbelievably, like it maxes out the volume and screams a pitch. It's just like, ah! It's like, dude, it's like at 3 a.m. What are you doing? I'm sleeping right now. I'm not looking for pedophiles on the road with missing children. Okay. What's going on? It's kind of crazy.
It'd be kind of crazy if you're in Wyoming and the alerts from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and being as that my phone itself is fairly privatized with location, they often don't know where I'm at. So it's like, I think the last one I remember getting, I think I was in Virginia and I got one from like New York or something. It's like, what? I don't know. How's everyone's week been? Silver Ventures has been sick all week. Today's the first day. Been awake for more than a few hours. We'll get well, Silver Ventures. My tea, I am on to some cinnamon stick. Actually ran low enough in tea. I went to the store and got some cinnamon stick. I can't find variety packs for the caffeinated teas, and I'm not a huge fan of herbals these days.
I've been spending most of my week outside working on the house, cleaning the siding with a power washer and stuff like that.
That's good.
Painting some bare wood.
Nope,
Speaking of cinnamon, this is a result of a different language. I didn't know until last weekend that cinnamon is actually a spice that you use in food. I learned that last week.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
Really? Cinnamon's quite popular here.
Yeah.
Yes.
We put it on toast, waffles.
Hey, we even have stupid internet memes about cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But, you know, that's the way the world works. Well, we wanted to get into our fun topic today, and I was like, what should we talk about today? I'm just like, you guys really overwhelmingly liked, it wasn't my top video, but one of my top videos for the week was the off-grid Linux, running Linux on solar and batteries. And I got to thinking, you know, what about end time type stuff? And if you didn't check out this one here, I go into some of the detail about what I'm doing to run Linux. I'm off the grid. Okay. I've not plugged into an electrical outlet. I think March I might have. It's actually I've been in a fairly cloudy spot today and, like a spot without a lot of sun. So my power's not the best right now, but I still think I can make it through the day, through the night, and then I'll just go somewhere where there's bright sun tomorrow and I'll be completely full in batteries. Basically, I've got to that point right now where I was able to run a couple days without solar off of my batteries, and you know, that's what I did. But I wanted to talk about the end time is going to come, and what are us computer geeks going to do when those days occur? I mean, who can live without your computer these days? Anybody?
I can live without them, but it will be difficult.
Yeah, difficult. Yeah. Ivan?
Yeah, I mean, I could certainly do it. I mean, I grew up without it every single day, and I can adapt.
Yeah, we can adapt. Unfortunately, those younger generation may not be able to. Dan, you might be able to adapt better than most of us, I think.
I'm probably the most paper backed up person.
I don't know. I mean, I did all my notes on sticky note.
Like my phone, all the phone numbers in it are actually in a physical phone book. You know, so if my phone gets lost, I don't lose the numbers because I refuse to use clouds.
Yeah.
A friend of mine does the same. She has when she needs to back up her contact list on her phone, she has a paper that she writes it manually using a pen, and she update this paper a few times a year. Yeah,
and okay, so when the world goes down, we're going to lose access to our computers. So it doesn't matter if we make any preparations. I'm going to throw out my argument. You guys can agree or disagree. I think that we should strive to be able to keep our computer systems on, not for our sheer entertainment, but because computer technology gives us an edge and an advantage in society. And in those first few weeks of a societal collapse, those who can make it through the first few weeks have a better chance of making it. If we have ourselves an edge while the warring savages take each other out and we can sit back with our calculated computers, then we might actually be able to have a better idea. We might be able to come up with some form of calculations. Of course, the internet would be gone, but what type of things can we do? So offline models and things like that are good models and things like that. But what I wanted to talk about is, first, who else thinks, does it matter if we keep our computers on or not? Anybody take the field?
No. In my case, I need to have all my computers on because I don't have a dedicated server for anything, and I don't have enough disk space for one machine to serve as the main server. So I have the video files spread out over all of my systems, and I have a rack, a 1U server in the basement that serves as my Yellowfin server that I have 5 or 6 external users on. So I just can't shut down when I leave for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
I can completely shut down without any issues.
Okay.
Yeah, and I could shut down myself, and as long as I know that all my data is saved, because I don't save out to the cloud or anything. I save it locally on a couple of hard drives. So as long as my data is happy and sitting there and comfortable, it can just stay there, and I'm good. And I'm good to go. Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I read a news article yesterday morning where actually the electric company had hooked up much higher voltage to the grid in that area than it normally is supposed to have. It actually destroyed everybody's electronics devices in their houses, burnt one house down, and now they're having problems getting the insurance companies and stuff like that to step in. I mean, the whole neighborhood, all their electronic stuff got cooked.
Yeah, that's
just because they took the 110 up to something like 1200 or more.
Whoops. Yeah, that'll do it. Like, little voltage changes don't matter significantly, but when you're doing like a 110 outlet's going to hover between like 110 and 120, and the same thing, like my Lenovo computer technically wants 20 volts. I'm feeding it 19. Not a real big deal. But if you're going like 20 to 200, you're going to kill something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to kill a lot of somethings. And yeah, burning down houses will absolutely happen. Things like that. This is, by the way, leads into why we've covered it in the past. But the new USB-Cs are out, which are higher voltage lines, but they look exactly the same. That is going to burn down houses because people will jump back and forth, be like, well, there's one that works, and you'll plug something in, you don't realize it because since the plug shape all fits the same, but the wires need to be a different size for transmitting the voltage, and mostly it's not the voltage, it's the amps that you need to worry about the transmission of, then it will destroy things if people are using the wrong cables. If you try and plug something in, you try and plug it into something that's supposed to push out the 200, and I think they're doing like 200 watts. I think it's like 260 watts versus the old ones could only max out at like maybe 15. Or 20, maybe it's a little bit higher than that. But we're talking about a 10-fold increase in amperage going through the same wires. It's going to burn houses down because they chose to keep the same format of the plug, but 10 upping the voltage. That's going to cause problems for the same reason. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in Norway, and I think also in Sweden, there are regulations on what fuses you can have in your fuse box, dependent on what type of cabling you have. And we have a 240 volt in our plugs. And in the last 10 or 20 years, the lowest fuse that you are allowed to mount in a new building project is 16 amps, which is quite a lot on a 220 volt system, whereas the old standard was 10. So and then you can have a thicker wiring, but you need to have a thicker. They regulate what type of cable you can have on a given fuse, so it's not possible to mix those in. And if it's discovered by whatever reason, then they can require that you fix it within a certain time, and if you don't, they shut your power off.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. I don't think here if we have different size fuses for the house AC. I don't know. I've not wired that. I've just wired tiny homes and off-grid stuff, but I got a lot of fuses around here. I got fuses of all shapes and sizes. I even have a neat little MC4 connector fuse on my roof. It's kind of fun, Yeah.
And also if you need to put in some fixed wiring, which is defined as something that you mount on anything, that's not just laying around.
Yeah.
Then you have to be educated in the. You have to be an certified electrician in order to be allowed to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's I can understand that in a way, but sometimes it's like, okay, if you know what you're doing and legitimately know what you're doing, it's one thing. Actually, it was item 3 on my list, but since we're already talking about electricity and power, we're gonna bump that up because how do we power our computers and an internet down? Of course, I talked extensively about it in that aforementioned video, off-grid Linux. We talked about how I'm running Linux on batteries and things like that, and this was a fun idea. Over the summer, I actually found myself at a van life conference. You guys believe there's a van life conference out there, right?
Nice.
We went gathered in the middle of BLM area and in the middle of a desert, and had like 200 some people there, and people were talking, and it's kind of something for like brand new people who are kind of forced into their vehicles. And I found some of it somewhat useful, but we had this moron. I'm just going to go ahead and call him a moron leading the solar workshops, because like the first thing you consider when you're going off grid, you have to, like, the first thing you have to be aware of is wire gauges. This guy never one time mentioned wire gauges at all. And that's the first most important thing. You need to know what gauge wire can be transferred, because as Salby was talking about with the fuse types, right, and the amperage through it, you're saying 16, that's a pretty small fuse. Well, not for 220 volts, because as the voltage goes up, the amps go down. And it's just as dangerous, trust me. In fact, it's safer for if you're exposed to the contact wire, it's safer at a lower voltage. But if you're using the wrong gauge of wire, you increase your chances of a fire, because lower voltage means higher amperage, greater resistance through the wires, and more heating. So if you actually look at the pictures, I'm not sure if I had the pictures in that video or if in another one. If you actually look at the pictures of the short wires going from my batteries up into my DC fuse box, that is 2-aught gauge wire. It is about about 3/4 of an inch.
That's pretty hefty
size.
stuff.
That's hefty stuff. Yeah, it is like extraordinarily thick wires going up into that, because you have to account for this huge wire to transfer the amount of current. I have to account for that thing pushing up to about 150 amps at a time. And that's the type of stuff you might see if you're running big computers off of a battery type system.
Or electric forklifts.
Yeah, or electric forklifts.
Them cables can surge 500 amps at 36 volts easily.
Yeah. First thing, though, off-grid livings type stuff, have yourself some form of off-grid power. Fuel generators are nice. Solar generators are nice. Solar are better long-term. They're quieter. They draw less attention to yourself. they're oftentimes slower to recharge and a little bit lower output. But having some means of understanding your power and having enough power to run your systems. This is why what I do in the van is I will have different computers of different sizes. Obviously, we're streaming on a big, massive beastie computer right now, which uses a lot of power. I don't turn on this computer without doing video production work. A lot of my time I'm running basically a laptop, just running a basic 19 volt 3 amp. So let's max is at about 60 watts. A lot of my work is done on a Raspberry Pi, maxed out at 15 watts, baby. And so learning how to use different computers in different power levels is a good thing, and it's worth experimenting with when you're still thinking about it and still have access to the grid. Anyone want to jump in at this point? Power.
They're getting nuts with these new GPUs that they're coming out with. Some of them will pull 400 watts of power under heavy gaming loads, and they don't cut it with a normal power supply in your computer. I mean, if you've got a beefy GPU and a beefy CPU, you're going to need like a 1,000 or 1,200 watt power supply just to play a game. It's kind of nuts.
I remember John Hall. He is also known as Mad Dog. He used to be the head of the Linux Foundation. He had a talk he had an interview 10-15 years ago, back in 2007, and he mentioned that back when he was young, living home with his mother, the average home had a 1 kilowatt fuse, as the main fuse was a 1K fuse, and he said, and this was in 2007. At that time, some gamers had power supply of that exact same power that it could put out. So the consume of power is growing as the time goes on, because we have more gadgets and more light bulbs and so on to power our the things that we like to do.
Yeah,
and this can be a problem if you are when you are preparing for an end time or a disaster type of backup thing. You need to figure out what do you really need power for. Lighting is one area. Some computers maybe on occasion, but you need to figure out what can you live without power for weeks on end if you had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ivan, any thoughts on power?
Yeah,
I have my kite with the key.
There you go. Yeah, no, I was just thinking, just like to further what Dan was talking about with some of these cards requiring so much power. For example, the RTX 3090 Ti, that is a beefy unit. I mean, it takes up 3.5 slots on your board, but that alone by itself. Now, but for power, it's like a UPS. UPS, this is all right. But, as far as like something you can kind of sort of rely on is something similar to, let's say, like a Jackery. One of those portable battery units. I know you've got one, Tom. I've seen that. It's nice. I've got one myself, but that I got for power outages that we sometimes get. And, it's like if you need to have constant power for everything, then, getting something, even like a generator. But, of course, fuel is an issue there. But, something you can recharge solar or something like that, such as the battery pack I've got.
Yep.
It's over there. But, something like that can at least give you power for X period of time.
And if you're in the market for one such portable battery, so they call them portable solar generators. Technically, this itself isn't a generator, it's a battery. You can charge it off of a solar panel. You can charge them by plugging them into the walls. You can charge them on a DC on a car. If you are looking at one right now, at the time of this video, you want to be looking at the Blue Eddies. The reason is the Blue Eddies are the only ones in the market I know of that are using the newer battery technology, the LiFePO. And that is a newer battery tech. It lasts 10 times longer. The Jackers are still using lithium ion. This one's lithium ion. I've had this one for about 3 or 4 years, and it's starting to decline. Lithium ion has about 500 life cycle charges, versus the LiFePO, the lithium iron phosphates, like I have on my van batteries. Those have a 5,000 cycle 10-year lifespan before they even start to degrade. And so the Blue Eddies are using the newer battery tech. They're slightly heavier, but they'll charge faster. They'll last a longer. And actually the Blue Eddies actually have the newer models. They actually have external, what is that called? You can charge them by setting your cell phone on top. Wireless charging. There you go.
That's really weird. They call them Blue Eddies because Yetis?
Yeah, it's similar to Blue Yeti, right? The microphone.
Yeah, because that's what this microphone is a Blue Yeti.
Yeah, which we can't see it. It's in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it is one of the things, but looking them up, and actually I chatted with them. They were actually down at that conference I was at, and I am in the market for a new replacement battery. I'd like to get one, but lower on my priorities right now, unfortunately. So I'll stick with my crappy one for now.
One thing that I have done, because I live in an area where the power, just an example, so far this year, the power has been out here for 7 or 8 times, all from 1 or 2 seconds until a few hours. And if that happens at night, then you might have one thing that people can start doing is you have something like this. It is a flashlight that has and there I go. It's wireless charging. It's a hole in the and this thing when the power goes out, this thing starts to light up, and depending on what type of battery it uses AAA batteries, and it can light for a few hours. So for emergency lights, then this is something that people can use. I have in this living room, I have 3 of these, and then I have one in the hallway, and one in one of the bedrooms upstairs, and in the bathroom, because everywhere where I need to orient myself if the power goes out, then you need one of these. So I did $15 maybe for something like this.
Yeah. Okay. So I put up on the screen, this is the smaller brick. This is the brand new one that just came out. It's priced at about $400, which is pretty good. It's a 300 watt, 500 watt hour. So that is actually, this one here that I have cost me $200 ish, like $250. And it is a 200 watt, I believe. Double check that. Yeah, this is a 200 watt hour. So this one here is about 2.5 times the size, and it has your DC out, your standard output. It has your these are the 2 next to the DC output. These are your standard 12-volt outputs. I use these to run computers and things like that. They'll tell you your status of your charge. We have AC ports. We have several DC ports, USB A and C, and the top of it has cell phone wireless charging. This is a really good deal for a computer or a battery pack of this sort. It's fairly small. It's just about the size of this one here. I've actually held their prototype model, which was really nice. So this company's good. Sadly, I don't have any affiliate links or anything of these guys, but go check them out though. It's Blue Eddy, blueeddypower.com. And they have a lot of different ones. So like some of the van dwellers will actually use the big packs. Like this guy here is a 2000 watt hour. This is slightly smaller than the batteries in my van. I think my van's like 2400 watt hour. So it's about the same size, but it's a single package. All you need to do is plug some solar panels into the side of it and you're good to go. So these are actually pretty good if you're looking at van life. This one here will power everything I'm doing. If you want to spend a little bit less, you're not doing a lot of big streaming type stuff, 700 watt will power a lot of things for a lot of people. Don't buy the solar panels from these guys. They are way overpriced. But the power bricks are really good deals. And they will be able to allow you to run stuff off of, off the grid for a while, and you plug them into solar panels. What I mean by the solar panels are too expensive is per watt hour, they're about twice as much as buying any old generic solar panel off of Amazon and getting the proper connections, which are easy to get. So that's running power in an off-grid circumstance, and the world ends. As long as it wasn't an EMP, that'll survive.
Yeah, because
EMP,
I don't think.
Sorry, you're screwed.
Yeah, and in the case if an EMP do go off somewhere, the only equipment that are still are old diesel engines.
Yep.
Like old diesel tractors and old diesel cars that don't have. You might have a problem starting them, but once you get them going, they are they are the thing to use.
Yeah. If EMP is the way you think the world's going down, get yourself some spare computer equipment and just get yourself one of those cheap old big metal trash cans. Put all your computer equipment inside the trash can. Put the lid on it.
The old points and condenser type ignition cars should still run too.
Which kinds?
The ones that have points and condenser instead of electronic ignition.
That or tinfoil wrap everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need my tinfoil hat today. Why did I not wear my tinfoil hat today, guys? I mean, come on. Let me get my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, you could balance a box of tinfoil on your head. That'd be nearly as effective.
Yeah, and one other thing to consider, since this is end of the world type of scenario, if you live in a dense populated area, then one of the things that you might have to do because of things developing is you might have a need to get out of city centers and so on, and to friends living in the rural areas or remote areas. You need to have many of us who have cars. One rule that I have had for the last 20 years after seeing an interview of someone who was a prepper, and he was one of the extreme. He taught his family and so on, but he had there's one thing that he taught his son to always do, and it's one of the few things that he still does as of the interview when it was live. Don't have less than half a tank of gas on your car, because you might have to very quickly have a need to get out of town, and then if you then need to fuel up, then it might be too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Silver Ranger says, what if you could turn the van into a large-scale Faraday cage? It sort of is. If I actually put my insulation packs on the windows and close the curtains, cell phones have a hard time penetrating in here because floor, ceiling, and walls, I actually have vibration deadening panels all over the van, which if you've not seen them are giant. Basically it's tin foil on top of rubber matting. So literally the entire inside of the van is wrapped in tin foil, believe it or not. But yeah. All right, let's move on to what was number 2 on my list. Wow, we're moving through these really slowly, but I hope it's interesting. Mirroring your repos locally. So Debian, I'm sure other distributions allow this as well, but you can actually mirror your repos locally or have a local server that, I mean, it's huge. It's, I don't know, anybody know the exact size off the top, but you can actually set up, download all of the packages, everything you would need for a Debian system, for example. You can download it all. It's several gigabytes. You can put it all onto a server and use that server as a local repo in the event you need to install anything else on your computer. And so that is something you might want to do, is mirroring your repos locally. I don't have all the instructions for that, but
I do that now. I've been doing it for many years. And for me, it started because I had a slow connection. And when I started to have a few computers, and they all run the same distribution that I use, and I started to I have an rsync script that I use because I use an RPM-based system that is not based on Debian packaging, so it's a little easier for us. But I am mirror the 64-bit and the 32-bit version of the repo, and the source code repo, because I am a packager. So so in a case that something happens and I'm without internet for something happened to my local areas, let's say, or the connection to the outside world from our country was severed for a week or so on, then I could still install everything that is provided by the distribution. And it's a good thing, but you need to have a lot of storage. So in Mageia that I'm using, the mirror that I use, each version of the distro, it's about a little over 200 gigabytes, and that's one version. Okay. And then so I have 3 versions of my distro version, because I use 3 versions on a few systems.
So it would take me an entire year to download that much stuff.
Yeah. I remember I did that. A new version just came out just 2 weeks before I moved into this place. And in my old place, I had an old DSL connection and a 16 megabit download. And I knew that on the previous version, when I downloaded the repo, I used almost 3 days just downloading. So I purposely waited until after I was set up here. 6 hours.
Nice. Yeah, that's exciting. All right, anything else on mirroring repos before we move on?
Yeah, another thing that you might like to mirror. A friend of mine does this. He has, I've talked about him before, but he has a local copy of every single television show that he likes to watch. And he has a big RAID 6 or RAID of... he has 18 hard drives. Of each drive is 8 terabytes, and he has 1 or 2 spares, and he can and he has a total storage capacity of 120 terabytes.
Yeah.
So downloading what you because if the end times finally comes, it might be too late to download what you need.
Yeah, that's right. Tobias on that front says that he uses Debian, so he only has to update once a month or sometimes even once every 3 months. Which, makes sense with Debian, because it's like it doesn't roll a lot. That's why I like Debian.
Yeah,
I put my servers on Debian. Hey, I finally upgraded the Jitsi server, and other than that one snag, everything else seems to be working fine. And we'll get that figured out. My guess is it's related to caching in the old system, because the same exact application on a Flatpak on the other computer works. So anyway, anything else on mirroring repos? All right, number 4, backup and access to those backups. Of course, as technologies change over the years, sometimes our backup media does. As I was minimalizing my life not too long ago, I flipped through a folder, and what do I find? A 3.5-inch floppy. Well, I wonder what's on that thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
I threw it in a safe. Eventually, I'll get the device that allows me to interface. And I actually do have I did save or either saved or scavenged somewhere a 3.5 floppy IDE drive. Eventually, I will find the port that I need to convert that to USB. I know it exists. It's out there. And next time I place an order on Amazon, maybe I'll remember to look for it. And then, I'll plug that thing in and be like, hey, look at this old 3.5 floppies.
Yeah.
But the point is, make sure that you have backup medias in a format that you can read in a world-ending scenario.
Yeah.
Portable hard drives are becoming so useful right now. Flash drives, DVDs are losing vogue at this point in time. So I actually just ordered myself a portable USB powered DVD player because one of the tasks I need to do is get a system with Wine to run the few games that I want, and I just need to install them on there easily without fighting with a few other things. But that's how that goes. But yeah, and comments on backups.
Yeah, a friend of mine has a elaborate system. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but he has 6. He did in the last year. He bought 6 hard drives of equal size. So he has 2 drives. He has one mounted in his system, and he has 2 drives mounted in a NAS system. And then he has another one in another. So he has multiple backups in his house. And the 5th drive is an external drive. He has some type of access need, and it's stored in a safe in his house. And the 6th one he stores at a friend's house on the other side of town. So he actually has a disaster backup, and he and his friend they meet 3 times a year roughly, and then he exchanged the drive. So it's mostly 3 months old if it should happen.
So having a few backups and put one either in a safe deposit box or a friend's house, bury it in the woods somewhere, whatever you need to do, just make sure you have extra copies. Jeffrey says, line your hard drives in a lead safe to block radiation. There you go. And that would actually block EMPs as well.
Yeah.
Ivan, did you have something to say in there?
Yeah, just as far as like data and backup stuff like that. Yeah, to try to keep those backups on, let's say, like an external drive. Like it's like I have my data on a couple of externals portables that takes USB 3, and it's just like, yay! If there happens to be a fire, I can just unplug them and run, and I've got it. And and for backing those up, it's like, yeah, if I have another one of the same, I can just copy it over and put it away someplace safe. I hope.
Dan, thoughts?
I have my stuff pretty much backed up on multiple drives, and I have a few here. I have one at a friend's house, and the only thing I can't really back up is my Steam games because they're on a separate 2 terabyte SSD.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to buy another 2 terabyte SSD to make a clone of that drive and everything that's on it.
Yeah.
So the games would have to suffer the most.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, if I can't get access to the internet anymore and the computer will still work, I can still get power for it. I do have some games I bought from GOG that don't have DRM that run in Lutris.
Nice.
So I can run those games and play those games. It's the Steam that's going to suffer because it requires the internet.
Yeah, that is the downside of everything going to cloud, because and that's why I resist it so much. I don't want to be tied to something that's reliant on the cloud.
It's not just the cloud. Is Steam requires now and then that you put in a user ID and password to even let you play your games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to make the Steam client happy. And if it can't return, you have them games in your account, then you can't play them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's problematic.
One other thing to consider when you have, because there are some people who have offsite backups, and they have a service that they either pay someone to maintain, or they have a server either stored in a data center somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2 years ago, there was a fire in France, a data center. There was a data center. They had multiple 3 locations in the same city, but one of the locations burned down, and it was in that one location they had 4 buildings, and they shut off power in all 4 in order to contain the fire. And there were reports from people who know how from the inside, who they were very general about, but still. There were reports that there were some big companies that have multiple servers in Iraq in one building, and then they had a complete backup of everything, including the hardware working in another building, and both buildings burned down. So that's the one thing to have.
Yeah, that was OVH. Even the cloud isn't completely safe, although that is a little bit more rare of a situation.
Yeah, and 1 or 2 months after the fire, there was a news story. I don't remember, but at least one fairly large company went closed shop because all their backups and all the software was in those 2 buildings that burned down, and they couldn't replicate it. So they shut down, and it was a big company.
That sounds almost intentional.
Yeah.
If someone smoked both buildings because they were mad at something or somebody.
There you go. Drilly stores things on multiple flash drives and a 3.5-inch floppy. Very nice. That's fun. All right, my last one. Being offline. Of course, there's one distro that easily allows you to grab all sorts of offline data, like Wikipedia. You can download all of Stack Exchange and things like that. Endless OS, of course. If you want like the 12 to 15 gigabyte version, it has an offline archive of Wikipedia and things like that. But being offline and figuring out how to manage your life offline is a good thing. This is why I don't like clouds. I don't want to rely on external clouds, external servers. My local server in and of itself, I don't like to rely on as much. But at least that I know, even if I don't have internet, I can still watch movies or something on my local server. That's fine as well. But that's the one of the first things to keep in mind is tips on being offline and functioning offline. Welcome back, Ivan. We've lost your audio though. Hold on, work to get that back. All right, Selby, any thoughts on offline?
It's a good exercise to be able to live offline. The biggest benefit is they can't track you everywhere if you are offline.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one benefit of downloading everything that you depend upon or like doing. Like Dan said, if there are some games you want to play, have track down games that you don't need to have an online, that you don't need an online connection in order to play. If there is an online version that you can use like a multiplayer, then sure, but it should be possible to play without having the internet available, because when the end times do come, one of the first things that will have big problems is the internet and the power grid in many places.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Offline, I have audio back.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Hey, there you go. Your audio's back. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Woohoo. Any other thoughts on being offline?
Offline's kind of some people just absolutely have to be online all the time, and other ones are gonna be like, oh, I can just drop and just be off doing whatever for however long, stuff like that. So I'm kind of like, I'm in the middle where, it's like, yeah, there's some things I would like to be able to see all the time, like the weather, just to keep tabs on that, especially during, strong storms and stuff that's coming, especially being up here in New Hampshire. It'd be nice to know when the snow's going to hit.
Right.
But, other things would be like, yeah, thanks, Dan. You're sending it off my way.
Yeah.
But it's like, the rest of the time it's like, being offline, it doesn't really bother me all that much because I can just do whatever.
I think on the initial end days type things, I think for the first couple of months, most of us are not going to really care about our computers because we have plenty of other things to worry about and contend to, like defending ourselves. Food,
that's true. But if you have a lot of online or a lot of what were online resources in an offline format, you can research and archive and look things up. And that's why I make the point at the beginning that doesn't matter. Well, if you can keep systems on long enough to have an idea about what to do, and this goes back though to make sure that you have some offline resources somewhere. That would be a fun thing. So. That's kind of what I have in mind. But yeah, you're right though. And the whole world blows up.
Everything's going to go nuts. You're going to have enough chaos to keep you busy for a while.
Correct.
That reminds me of something that a friend of mine does. She has she mentioned a few times that she always has in her car. She has a bag of at least one change of clothes because if something happens and she needs to change clothes, she might not have the time or the ability to go home and change. So that's one thing.
I have a whole wardrobe, multiple computers, self-defense, weeks worth of food, power for days in my vehicle. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, you're all set for a few weeks.
Yeah, just a couple weeks. But yeah, all right. So I hope that was a fun enough one for everybody. But we'll look through our comments and have our final thoughts. It's getting close to the hour. I am streaming tonight on the Christian channel, and we are going to be talking about, does it take a village to raise your children? Of course, perfect timing, because I think it was today the government comes out with a report saying that homeschooling is the secret plan to destroy public education. We're like, no, it's not so secret, actually. But if you want to watch Does It Take a Village at 9 Eastern, 1 hour from now, there is the link for that in there. So you can go ahead and do that. Bug out bag for the win. That's right. Do you have a techno bug out bag? I mean, I got a techno bug out bag right here. It's flash drives, man. Flash drives in my bug out bag. I need to draw a cockroach on it,
I've got a grab bag in the car. It's got some change of clothes in there, a couple other things, first aid kit. So I can just grab it and just take off, especially if this place burns down. I can just have it already.
Yeah, there are certainly some downsides to van life, but the upside is I'm ready for bug out at any point in time. Like the other day, a couple weeks ago, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna. There's a state forest. I'm gonna park back there in the state forest somewhere. So I drive back about 4 or 5 miles back on these dirt roads. I find this 1-lane dirt road. I'm like, no one's possibly gonna come up here. So I go over at the front and just kind of pull right in there. Wouldn't you know, 6 a.m, that's where all the logging trucks are going. So I get up, run up to the front of the van, turn it on, drive to a different parking lot in the forest, and sleep out the rest of the time. It's like, but so basically I was just ready to bug out anytime, but
There's also one, since we are what things to consider. If something does happen, and you need to be prepared that the shops are going to close for a week or two. Do you have enough food that you can prepare without going to the store for 2 weeks or a month? And if the power is out, you also need to have food that you don't need to cook in order to
or you just need to have some backup cooking methods. Let's talk about that briefly. Backup cooking methods. We could do a whole separate video on that. Might be better for Van Life channel, but yeah, like here I actually have 3 different ways of cooking in the van now. I have a solar oven if it's a nice bright sunny day and I have the time. I have a solar oven now. That's nice. I have an electric burner, which is good if batteries are full and it's a sunny day. So I have the electric burner. But what does the bulk of mine is a gas burner, and it's a dual fuel, so it's propane and butane. And I keep probably about 6 months of fuel on board, which doesn't take a lot. But that way I can pretty much cook anything. And I actually do have an emergency butane single burner in the back as well. Back with emergency straws and things like that. And so having those extra supplies is good. Now in the van life, we don't have as much storage to store nearly as much food as we should in a grid down situation, but I'm still probably storing close to a month's worth of food and random odds and ends, because since I do cook things raw, I do have a lot of dry beans, dry rice. I have a lot of flours and sugars and things, so I can make breads and stuff like that. So I'm probably not going to starve. It may not be the best and most glorious food, but I can go for a long time without having to. Pretty much my limit's about 2 weeks, because that's about how much water I have.
Yeah, and you've got that vacuum sealer too. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So it's what we've been talking about. It boils down to what can you live without, and what do you need to have, like food, water, and what is nice to have, and have multiple items that you
Yeah, and I think that our current world is woefully unprepared. So, like, in the event of a grid down situation, the first thing that's going to collapse, cities are going to destroy themselves within less than a week. People in cities generally are very liberal. They generally are not armed. They're generally not prepared. They go out to eat more often than they know how to cook. They tend to not be prepared. They basically are deeply reliant. Get out into the country boys. Yeah, don't mess with the country boys stuff. He'll just shoot you from a distance. You won't even know where he's at, you know.
Yeah. And also one thing that could be thing that is not working if things starting to happen. Modern communication. If the cell phone network is down, how do you communicate with your family that is out? And having some radios and
I have some shortwave radios on board and things like that, which need tested. I might need to replace them, but I do have some shortwave radios as well. But
I'm thinking about the walkie-talkies and communication for those who have families and have 2 cars and so on. I need to coordinate if you can phone them.
Like a CB radio, a ham radio, something along those lines.
I prefer bacon radios, but you know,
a modern look on what could happen. It doesn't have to be a war, but look to the parts of Ukraine where the society is just falling down and people can't be outside for 2 months and have to fend for themselves. And what you do, and if you have a cabin that you can vacate to in things start to happen, make sure that you have enough gas to get there, and think about if you need to go on an alternate route, because the normal route that you travel is a router. Everyone is going. So.
Yeah, I know more back roads than straight roads half the time.
There you go.
All right. We're going to wrap this one up here. Thanks for watching, everybody. 1 hour, we'll be talking about does it take a village to raise your children? Homeschooling applications and things like that. So over on the Christian channel, link is in the comments here. So we will see you guys next time.